control. Destroy everything. It was preparing.
Emma, the second row here. Perfect. Emma, to your left. Center. Lower center. Lower center. And the center again here.
Emma, you missed me. Here's an egg out.
Thank you. Second screen.
Well, we have another row. Here's a row. There's egg for us right here. Emma,
Stay back.
No, here. Emma, would you come over? Can you turn those for us, please, that we have a picture? Would be nice.
We can't use them if we get them together.
Yeah, we both here, yes. The tie. Emma, the very left. Yes, Emma, right side. Thank you very much.
Good luck to you, Leo Grande, is the Berlinale Gala for one of my absolute favorite actresses, Emma Thompson. I consider her the star for a whole generation. She plays a woman in her mid-50s, her husband died, she's no longer sexually active, and has never had an orgasm anyway, not even during her marriage. She wants to change that now and employs the services of a young male sex worker played by Daryl McCormack, an up-and-coming young star. In the film, this man sees himself more as a therapist, and I think he has a point. The film was directed by Sophia Hyde from Australia, and she approaches the topic as a chamber play, full of enjoyable awkwardness. Good luck to you, Leo Grande.
So hello, everyone, and welcome to the last press conference of the day of the film Good Luck to You, Leo Grande. I would like to start by introducing you this amazing team of filmmakers we've got gathered here today. And I will start on the other end of the table, on your left. You can find Adrian Politowski, the producer of the film. Next to him, Debbie Gray, also producer of the film. Welcome. I guess you all recognize him, our very new favorite sex worker on screen, played by Daryl McCormack. In the middle, a director very much loved here in Berlin. She has a little bear out of glass in her house, and we missed her ever since she was here with 52 Tuesdays. Welcome back, Sophia Hyde. Impossible to describe, never seen a performance like this one before. We all thought we had seen her do a lot of different things because every time it's something different, but no, she had to prove us all wrong and actually surprise us all with another amazing performance. Playing Nancy, please welcome Emma Thompson. And none of this would be possible without an amazing story written on actual, probably not paper, but written by Sorry, Debbie Gray. No. Oh, no, sorry.
It's good.
It's Katy Brand,
They're in
sorry.
her box. It's good, otherwise we get too...
That's Katy Brand, ladies and gentlemen. We already have the first question right here in the middle, please.
Good evening, Mike. What would be the world without the smile of Emma Thompson? Seeing you in this film and outside there in the photo call, I keep wondering how you train. All great stage directors, Antonin Artaud, who wrote a lot about theater, Peter Brook, Politowski, they all talk, Émile Decroux in France, they talked about the body as the medium for acting. And Émile Decroux would say that meaning in theater is the spinal cord that moves. Politowski would force his actors to just jump over chairs just to get rid of the fear of going into the empty space. So my question is, you go into the empty space so much, how do you train to let the emotion go through?
Blimey, that was more of a kind of philosophical.
No, actually, it was very physical.
Well, it's right. No, it's really good. It's true. It's so true. Well, of course, I was with this wonderful director and marvelous colleague, co-star, Daryl, and we did do a lot of work on the body, actually. So one of the first things we did on our wonderful rehearsal period, we rehearsed, and we made the movie in 19 days, 19, 19, count them, yes, intense. But we did have a few days rehearsal, which saved us a lot. And so Sophie had these fantastic exercises. So we would lie on the ground and draw around our bodies, and then, I mean, it's a wonderful thing to do anyway. Big pieces of paper, you draw, and then you mark on your body where are the places that you think you like or you don't like, or things that have happened to your body. And then one day we spent the entire day with no clothes on, because we had to get used to, I mean, you're German, you're used to it. It's like, you know, it's nothing for you, but we're not quite as at ease with nudity in the sort of slightly further towards the puritanical. It's so tiring. Anyway, that was incredibly helpful. So we threw ourselves into the rehearsal space and were brave there before we had to be brave on set, and I thank Sophie for that, and I thank Daryl for being, you know, I mean, obviously Daryl is very beautiful and has a body like a fucking unicorn, so, you know, it's just, oh my God, I can't believe that's so perfect. So I mean, it was easier, you think it's going to be easier, but it never is easy, is it? It's just difficult suddenly to do that. So good question, which I have not really answered, but yeah, it is partly about the body. And everything it contains, and particularly for women, the shame.
Daryl, would you like to add anything to that before we move on?
Yeah, no, I just agree with everything Emma's just said. By the way, she'll always have the better answers, okay? So just, but no, I'd agree. I think we were beautifully led. Sophie created such a beautiful foundation for us. I think on our 6th day of rehearsal, we finally got to the intimate scenes and stuff. And by then, we were really kind of ready to jump across that, you know, threshold into vulnerability. And yeah, it started so kind of simple about, you know, what we like about our bodies, what we don't like about our bodies, which is so universal. And from there, I guess, you can find the strength to kind of take yourself in fully. And yeah, it was a very simple process, and kind of we were all holding each other's hands, you know, through that. So it was very beautiful.
Thank you. We have a question up front here on the right side.
Hello, it's Natalia Zhuk, Berliner Telegraph. First of all, thank you for the incredible movie. I did enjoy myself so much yesterday while watching it. So yeah, my question, I have two. The first one, while I was watching it, I could not stop thinking about the theatres, that it would make a perfect play. They are in one room, it's only 2 characters, it's absolutely amazing dialogue. So what do you think if it might be a future for this screenplay as a theater play? And if yes, would you dream of or like to take part in it on stage? And the second question, a bit philosophical, how did you find the courage to approach this, I would say, complex topic with such humor? Because it's about sex work, it's about openness, it's about body, it's about age, about all the fears inside, and it's posed so brilliantly with such humor that it helps to go deeper and to cry after you laugh and then laugh again. So, yeah, thanks.
Good questions, Katy.
Yeah, well, okay. Yes, I think I can cover the first one, at least briefly, about it being a play, because just over 2 years ago, I sat down to write the first draft of Good Luck to You, Leo Grande, in my living room, and it was just an idea that I'd had for quite a long time, and just really visualized the first scene of an older lady, you know, waiting in the hotel room for this young man she's booked for the night, and there would just be a knock at the door and the door would open, and then we'd see what happened next. And then I sat down, I'm not going to find out what happens next until I wrote it. So I just wrote it without really quite knowing, although I very much dreamed that Emma would do it, and I wrote it with her voice in mind, her comedy ability, her ability to just turn on a dime and become truthful and honest and moving, and then back to funny again. So, but again, I was just in my living room writing madly for a week, knocked out sort of slightly short but crazy first draft. I thought I liked that, but I did visualize it as a play, mainly because beyond my wildest dreams, I thought it would ever become this, and we would all be sitting up here at this grand press conference talking about it with Emma actually in it, and Daryl and Sophie and everyone just being fantastic. So I did conceive it as a play. I conceived it as a play that somebody might conceivably pay to put on, in that I kept it small and cheap. And most of the things I write for myself, which are not direct commissions, I think, how can I make this doable from a budget point of view? So in a funny way, that sort of thing constrains it, but also opens it, I think, because you have to go so deep when you've just got two people in one location. But coming from a TV background, it was always a matter of, you know, you write a dinner scene and the director says, could it be lunch? And then we won't have to pay to black out the windows, you know. So does it have to be a party, or could it just be 3 people? You know, so I have learned to write in that way, but actually I love writing in that way. And I love going deep with the psychology. And I could imagine it working as a play, although I feel that would be slightly cheating on the film. We barely finished it. But yeah, it started life in my head as something someone might put on in a small black box theatre in London to an audience of 50, and now here we are. So perhaps it could go back to its first notion, but I'm so thrilled with the film, and it really feels like a finished article, and there's nothing more to say on it. So we'll see. But it's interesting that people are picking up on that a bit, because that is kind of where it began. There, I've spoken a lot longer than I said I would.
Perfect.
I think the second half of your question, someone else might be more able to answer, but I'm not sure what the...
It's lost in the mists of time.
I spoke for so long, no one can remember what you said.
But actually something else came into my head, which was someone said to me, having seen it, that actually you could carry on and you could have other encounters with other... Yeah. With either Leo or with other sex workers.
Mm-hmm. Or Nancy,
with lots of different... You could actually expand it. That's a good idea.
Are you signing up for that, Emma, here and now?
Totes, yeah, okay. Absolutely. There's a couple of people who, you know, could be in those here.
We have a question in the middle here, in the back.
Yes. Hello, Emma Thompson. My name is Katy from the ZDF, and outside at the photo call, it was, for me, the first Berlinale party feeling. Thank you very much for that. Whoop, whoop. And now my question. So you play a retired teacher, a widow who never had a real orgasm in her life. Did you find that absurd or quite realistic when you were confronted with that story?
Oh, I'm afraid I found it enormously realistic. Sorry, I just really did. I don't think that female pleasure's ever been at the top of the list of things that the world wants to make sure they have, put it that way. And I know that in other countries it certainly isn't, and in my country, you know, this was not something... It's not important that we have pleasure. It's not important. No, it's not considered important. So, you know, Nancy's not growing up or going about in a world which is constantly saying to her, actually, have you ever had any pleasure? has anyone ever asked any of the women in this room whether they've actually really had any pleasure? Who asked you? Your mother? A mother, a lover.
A lover.
Oh, well, that's good.
Asked her.
Yes, but I think it's sort of reasonably uncommon, but possibly not in sort of metropolitan circles. But Nancy, as she says, you know, the sexual revolution, which is, that's a whole other discussion, obviously. But she says, you know, we didn't live in London, we lived in the countryside. No, I think if you went into the British countryside and the German countryside and the French countryside and asked all the old ladies who were sitting on their stoops in the sun, you know, how many orgasms have you had? You'd be surprised. So I think it's a very common thing, not absurd in any way, and I'm sure I've met people who've had that experience. And in fact, some of the young women I know who've seen the film say, well, I was 30 when I first experienced it. So I think we don't talk about it, and I also think we're quite dishonest about it.
Thank you very much.
Do
we have to talk more about sexuality and intimacy in society?
That's the whole point. That's the whole point of the movie. You know, that's why, one of the reasons I'm sure why Katy wrote it. And that's what's so interesting about it, is that we're hoping that there'll be a long conversation through this year about intimacy and what it really is, and what pleasure is, and what shame is, and why we feel so ashamed about the strange pleasures that we seek and we feel.
And actually, Katy, on that note, at least the way I experienced the film, it's actually quite ironic that Nancy is a teacher. Because it goes, I mean, it's never spoken about, and it's something that you leave the audience, you know, to their own criteria. But I couldn't help thinking about sex education, and the sex education females around the globe don't have. Because also the marital status, you know, like many women in that generation, that's their reality. I thought it was absolutely realistic. But it's also very nice how you mix all of a sudden, and you turn things around, and then you put Daryl, who is the non-toxic male in this moment, and he actually has everything figured out, but other things not. Yes, exactly. And I wanted to ask both of you, actually, Daryl and you know, how was this? I mean, especially you, Emma, being a writer as well. It seems to me there was no room for improvisation because the text is so good.
Oh yeah. We wouldn't have dreamt of improvising.
No. I mean, there were so many pages to cover. There's so many pages to cover each day, and in a way, actually, I feel Katy did a really good job of the kind of the small turnings in particularly Nancy's mind, the kind of realizations that she's having, the kind of the guidance that Leo is providing. They can be quite subtle throughout the film, and I think they do pay dividends towards the kind of transformation that she has. So. Credit to Katy. I think it was just so well kind of, the line through was so spot on. So I don't feel like we ever really needed to improvise. It was all there for us and more.
Well, that's kind to hear. I also explicitly banned it. So I did it. And also I have to say, Sophia and I, after I did my crazy first draft and it all got sort of sent out, and Emma agreed to come on board and Debbie agreed, and then Sophia and Daryl, and we all created a new version of this film together that kind of changed the pace of it, changed the number of meetings, changed the way, as everybody came on board, which is what I love about film, is that it can start with a germ of an idea from a writer, it can start with a script, an imperfect script, but a script, and then everybody comes on board and we start to peel back the layers and everyone brings something. Sophie and I talked endlessly about it, Emma, Daryl, and yes, I'm quite protective of dialogue because I like a very particular rhythm and I like repetition, and I can sort of hear it quite clearly in terms of the rhythm and the repetition and the back and forth, and that's what I love. And Sophie and I talked about that style a lot, and we were both quite into it, I think. And but what was just fabulous was just seeing, because I just backed straight off from it once the script was locked and we were all happy with it, and just felt these people want to make the film we all want to make, and they created it in the room. And just, I felt totally safe just sort of handing over this dialogue, knowing that everybody would respect the dialogue but find their own ideas within it. And so when I saw the first cut, because I just backed out, you don't want the writer lurking around being weird during the filming. So when I saw the first cut, I just felt deeply delighted at what they'd all done with it and what they themselves had found with it, and made the dialogue sound so natural. And that was just credit to them, Sophie, Daryl, Emma, just finding that rhythm in the rehearsal room and then making it into something that just so beautiful, in my opinion. So I have to bat the credit back, really, I think.
But it's written like a play. I mean, you know, you don't play, you don't mess around. You wouldn't dream of improvising dialogue that a playwright had written. Why do we say, oh, well, we should improvise because a screenwriter's written it? If anyone improvised my stuff, I'd lamp them. You know, I just say, no, you don't do that. She can attest, yeah. No, you don't. But why is screenwriting so cheaply held? It's just as hard won. You know, you still have to sit there and write the thing, and you have to really make it work. So there was no reason to say this isn't fully realised as a piece of art. So now we take and we do it and we speak it and we'll play with that. But you don't dream of changing it. There's no need. It's beautifully written.
Thank you. We have a question here on the left side.
Oh, my name is Mahari Sagid, African Refugee News. Really beautiful film. Even if the plot is so easy, but it's a masterpiece, really. You made something special. But my question is for the director. I saw your film, 52 Weeks at the Generation, and you surprised me in this film because it's really good, really. And my question is, how did you manage to ask her to do this naked scene, you know? Because it's not so easy. You know? So how long it took you to ask her to do this beautiful...
To ask Emma?
Yeah, Emma, yeah.
Well, Emma was on, thank you for the question, and Emma was on the film before me. So
It was the last scene, I think, was the reference. The very
oh, beg your pardon.
I think.
The last scene, is that what you were asking about?
Where it's really well lit and you can see absolutely everything. Is that what you mean?
Yeah,
pressure.
Sure.
Yeah.
Berlin is burlesque. It's full. So, but it was beautiful. It was,
thank you.
You know, what I wanted to ask is about the girl, the student. That she was like a compass. Yeah, the end of the film, when everything seems to be ending, comes this girl with this funny face and funny eyes. And no, she was really super.
She was great. She was very funny. Very, very funny.
Yeah, very gorgeous. And I think when you have a film where there's two people in a room and you're exploring the two of them, it's very hard to see outside of their relationship. But you want to understand that what happens for Nancy might have an impact on her life outside of that room as well. Because you can tell that one story and she can learn and understand about Leo, but is that going to transfer out broader than that, particularly as someone that's a teacher? So I really loved that scene and bringing Becky, the character, in and thinking about Nancy and her abrasiveness in that moment. It was really important. I was really pleased when Katy had written a scene where Nancy was quite abrasive, because it felt like we needed to understand that what she'd presented for her whole life, without challenging or questioning these ideals and this philosophy that she'd presented to the world. To be able to see her shift in that space meant that she truly shifted, rather than just that she liked somebody, and she was being her best self. It was like we really got to see her transform. But Izzy Logland, who plays Becky, is excellent, just very dry and funny and gorgeous. And the final scene that, with
it was hard. It was really, it's actually a really interesting question because, and here's homework for all of you. Because we're not used to seeing untreated bodies on the screen, we're only used to seeing bodies that have, been trained out of all proportion, something that I knew that Nancy wouldn't go to the gym. She would eat too many biscuits. She would have a normal body of a 62-year-old woman who's had 2 children. I can't stand in front of a mirror like that. If I stand in front of a mirror, I'm always I'll pull something in, I'll turn to the side, I'll do something. I can't just stand there. Why would I do that? It's horrifying. So, but that's the problem, isn't it? That we've been, not you, but certainly women have been brainwashed all our lives to hate our bodies. That's the fact of it. And everything that surrounds us reminds us how imperfect we are and everything is wrong with us. Everything is wrong. And you need to look like this. So you try standing in front of a mirror, take your clothes off and don't move. Don't go. Just don't move. Just accept it. Just accept it and don't judge it. It's the hardest thing I've ever had to do. So, you know, I did something I've never done as an actor. So it's a great question. Thank you.
I am truly sorry to say we only have time for one more question. It's all the way here on the left, please.
Hello, Daryl from Slovenia. Just to balance things, Katy, where did you find this model for such an ideal lover? Based on your own experience or just imagination, just for teasing out? And maybe we are talking about liberation. Of course, a lot of women will take Emma as a role model to achieve more freedom in sexuality. Do you think that some men will also talk to be more like Daryl?
Yeah. Oh,
great question.
I didn't mean to. I mean, Katy,
No, we had. I wouldn't say there was any particular model for Leo. It was more about an energy. I've met people in my life like that. I have at times been able to be a little bit like that. My background is in stand-up comedy. That's where I started. I toured a lot, gigged a lot, moved around. And there was always people that, and so I think sometimes occasionally I was that person for other people that would kind of sweep in, be this, you know, charming, exciting person, and you could make this sort of fleeting connection with them that could change both of your lives, but not actually, it doesn't have to end in a marriage. But I was very used to meeting people that you could have this kind of quite instant connection and go quite deep, almost because it's temporary. And I think it's one of the few luxuries of living a kind of life on the road, is that you learn how to have immediate and quite deep conversations and true conversations and real conversations, because when you move around a lot and move on a lot, you have a lot of small talk. So I imagine Leo as a person of other stand-up comedians I've met that has heard a lot of the same things and goes in with a game plan, has encountered women who are a little nervous before. And then Nancy says something that just feels very true and unexpected about finding her son boring. And suddenly Leo's in the room. And I have felt that myself sometimes. Someone tells something very truthful and unexpected, and you think, oh, we're about to have a real conversation. Mm-hmm. And then you can have this quite deep conversation. It happens when people travel a lot, you know, traveling even. You meet people on a train, and then something extraordinary happens. And I think you just have to let that happen. I've read a few things, and Emma's commented on this. It doesn't have to be romantic, but it can be intimate, it can be sexual, and it can be exciting and transformative. And so it wasn't that I had a kind of model lover in mind. It was more an energy, and Daryl really brought that energy into the room as an actor, and I think that's what we were all searching for more than anything else, and he really has it. So that was what I think the basis of it was.
Yeah, and I would just add to that we always had an idea about Leo, but meeting Daryl sort of transformed that idea again, because sorry, I'm going to talk about you when you're sitting right there.
Do it.
Daryl has a real generosity and emotional openness that is like, whatever's going on for him, he's going to put aside to be with you in the room. And that was a really expansive feeling for us in terms of creating Leo, and feeling like suddenly we could have a man on screen that was somebody that I felt I knew, but I was never seeing on screen, you know, that there's certainly, for me, there are young men in the world that have changed, you know, and that are gentle but still powerful, interesting, interested in somebody else, and doing a whole lot of work on themselves. And to me, that shifted very much when we met Daryl.
Thank you very much. We need to close here, but actually I would love to ask Adrian and Debbie if they could have a few closing words. We missed your take on the production on the side of the film. Anything you would like to add to close it up?
Obviously, a huge thank you to these guys. It was a challenge, as Emma said, doing it in 19 days. In COVID, we were locked down, but that, in many ways, I think, made it a very close, wonderful, intimate shoot. And yeah, I mean, it was just an extraordinary experience for all of us, and I hope you all have enjoyed the film. So.
What Debbie said. And one thing I have learned is if you have any questions, direct them to Emma, because she's so wonderful.
Yeah, exactly.
Great questions, by the way. Thank you very, very much.
Well, thank you guys so much for making this film and sharing it with us here in Berlin. Have a beautiful premiere tonight. Go meet your wonderful audience and have a beautiful, adventurous, fun Berlin, just like your film. And thank you all for coming.
Thank you, everyone.
I'm so sorry. I could